BJ Maier, an old friend of mine.
Yeah.
From growing up, and but we're here to talk about your documentary film that's premiering at the Garden State Film Festival.
Yep.
Your career in production, and why that would be considered, or why I feel, that falls in line with our vision for long shots. People like yourself who are in pursuit of a job in film never. I mean, I could be wrong, but not so many make it. I don't know what the statistic is, but it's difficult.
Yeah, I mean, if you are looking for a job in the entertainment industry, it's definitely a long shot. Yeah. So I know why you have a lot of people in the entertainment industry on your show.
Yeah.
It's not an easy business. It's long hours. It's a lot of rejection. We were just talking about that. Yeah. Like you have to be very thick-skinned. I'm not very, very thick-skinned. I'm very thin-skinned when it comes to rejection. I take it personally. Mm-hmm. So it's a hard industry to be in. And I work in post-production where the rejection is a little less prevalent. Like if you're a writer or an actor, that's where you really have to deal with rejection a lot. Post-production, you're kind of it's just easier to have steady work,
Right.
And it's
the more stable side of it.
Yeah. So and it's much more laid back. Mm-hmm. It's less less fake people in because everyone says like Hollywood is so fake, mm-hmm. which there are parts of it, but post-production and being behind the camera is a little bit more blue collar, working class type of profession, which is why I chose it. I originally moved out to LA to be a writer, which a lot of people do, and I just fell into post-production. It was more my, it was more my speed.
Mm-hmm. When you graduated, so you went to Syracuse, right? So
yeah,
you graduate Syracuse. You're fired up about you're a young man. You're fired up about a life in the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
What were people telling you as you're on your way out to Hollywood?
Well, after 4 years at Syracuse, I was like, I can't be in snow anymore. I need to be in warm weather. Mm-hmm. And I think I've always wanted to move to LA. That's where the movie business was. Mm-hmm. And my spring break, senior year in college, I went to LA just to network. Like everyone else was going to, Florida, Fort Lauderdale, going crazy. I went to find a job, basically. So I went to LA, rented a car and just set up meetings every day and just drove around. And I was terrified to drive on the freeway. So I drove all the surface streets, and it took me a while to get everywhere. But and that's what I did. I networked, and then about a year after, I'd say like a little less than a year after I graduated, I just got in a car and moved out there. And and my first job was a PA on the show The OC, mm-hmm. which I first moved out to LA. I got a job like pretty quickly. Like I sent my resume out to every single show that was filming in LA. Mm-hmm. And I think it was back when you had to like fax your resume places.
Right.
And I got this entertainment guide that everyone told me to get that had the fax number of every single show in Hollywood. And I went to FedEx and just faxed my resume to like 100 shows. I think I spent like so much money at FedEx. And
that's crazy.
I think I got three callbacks, mm-hmm. and of those three, I didn't get any of those jobs. And then one day, my buddy was working at this lot. He was working on like CSI Miami as a PA, and he's like, we need a PA for a week, and so I worked there for a week, and then on the lot, the OC was filming, and I just walked into their production office one day and just handed them my resume. I was just like, I need a job. You looking for a PA? They're like, we are looking for a PA. And, I'm so glad I walked into that office that day, because otherwise
that was the beginning.
So I worked there for like a year and a half, and I have to say I got cocky like in the first year I was there, because like everything seemed to be working out right away.
Was
like
just clicking for you.
I was a PA, and then I got a writer's assistant. I was in the writer's room of like a major TV show, and I'm like, I want to be a writer, but I wasn't really doing anything to be a writer.
Mm-hmm.
And like I wasn't writing. I was just going out 6 nights a week and like basically taking my paycheck and spending it at the bar.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't really doing anything to like further my career, because I was like, I've made it, I'm in the writer's room.
Mm-hmm.
But it was on that show that I started hanging out with the post-production crew, like the editors, and just sitting in the editing bay and just watching them edit. And
what attracted you about editing? Or was it just like the stability part of it that you were more into at that point?
It wasn't the stability part. I think it was the people. Like the people, the writer's room, it's kind of like cutthroat, like everyone's trying to get their voice in, and everyone is, it just seemed a little bit more fake to me, like the people. And I mean, I worked with great people, but just every writer I met, like they always seemed to be like auditioning, like
everybody's pitching
and like you're like you didn't know who was real and who was not. It just seemed like the people in post production were just like more laid back. It was just like I didn't really want to network every time I talked to somebody,
Yeah.
And it wasn't, and editing is another form of writing, like when you're in the edit bay, you're kind of forming the story. Like people always say, like, editing is another step in the writing process. So I just like that you can change the story in the edit bay.
For sure.
And between, liking the editing and the people, I was just like, I want to be in post-production. And then I remember between seasons 3 and 4 of the OC, I planned on coming back. And I think they didn't. I talked to one of the producers, and he was just like, yeah, you're not coming back for season 4 in the writer's room. I'm like, oh, why not? And he's just like, because you're always in post-production. You're never here. And I was just like, okay. Fair,
Right.
That is true. So and after that I kind of like missed the East Coast, so I moved back here for a few years. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I was a little cocky. I was like, I got a job on the OC, I can get a job anywhere. And I don't think I worked for the next 2 years. I moved back east. I moved to Brooklyn. I was there for like 6 months, couldn't find a job. It was right before the writer's strike of 2008.
Yeah.
And I was like working on indie films in New York, but not getting paid. It was a lot of like taking the train up to New York or taking the subway from Brooklyn constantly, and just like I would spend like $100 every time I left my apartment, and I was making no money, so I ended up moving back home to Jersey. And then I got a job at the UL. And that's when I started working at the UL, and I kind of fell in a rut where like I wasn't doing what I wanted to do anymore.
Right.
And
so then you worked at the UL that summer, and then you just saved up some money. You're like, I'm out of here. I'm going back out west.
I think I was like 25 at that point, and I was just like, that's LA is where I.
And at this
belong,
point, the dream of you working in the entertainment industry is alive and well still. It's just that you're just Because I mean, to be honest with you, a lot of people at that point get discouraged, right? That's where the people that, you know, maybe had a little flame burning in the entertainment industry doesn't work out. Like I did it, like now let me
Yeah.
do something else. Like I mean, you see it so many times. You were just determined.
Yeah, I still thought like I worked in the industry, even though I wasn't working in the industry. Like I
You
was
can
all
do it again.
yeah. There was at no point in my career was I like I wanted to do something else, or I thought I was going to do something else. I kind of had like no fallback plan. Like I was either going to make it in the entertainment industry.
And that happened like what in high school? You were like, I'm gonna be in the film industry, and that's it.
Well, actually, in high school, I didn't really have. When I was little, I was like, I want to be a filmmaker. But I think as I got into high school, I was more like I can't be a filmmaker. I got to do something more practical. Like so, I got into journalism. I was actually the editor of our school paper in high school, and that's what got me into college. That's what got me into Syracuse. Is all my journalism, background, and I went to Syracuse to be a newspaper journalist, and then the school I was in had a film program too, and I was just like, why am I like first semester? I'm like, why am I doing like I'm not passionate about newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
So I joined the film program, and then I think in college I realized, oh, you can make a career out of this, whereas like it was always a dream to be a filmmaker, like an unattainable dream. But then when I was in college, I was like, oh, this is what people do for a living,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's when I was like, I'm a filmmaker. I want to be a filmmaker. And then I just didn't learn any other skills, like I really don't know. Like, if I stopped working in the industry, like, I don't know what I would do. Like, I don't really have a fallback plan, which that was my drive, like I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
I can't fail at this, or, I will be, I worked at Center Food Market growing up. I'd be like, I'll probably be a chef if I don't,
Mm-hmm.
a cook, which is what I did. When I moved back to LA, I think in '08, it was right after the writer's strike, and I couldn't find work. It wasn't like the first time. And I worked as a chef or a cook at a restaurant in Hollywood, and I think I was making like $180 a week, and like I was like busting my ass at this like bar, and then I got a job as a cook. This is a funny story. I got a job as a cook at UCLA cafeteria. I saw a post like looking for chefs or cooks, and I was like, okay, and I got hired. And what I didn't know was all the UCLA kitchen staff was on strike at the time, so I basically went to UCLA, and I didn't know it, but I was a scab.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I had to walk through a picket line to get to work, and everyone's like screaming at me my first day, and I'm like, I didn't know. I'm sorry. Like I just took a job, and I remember being in the kitchen like so depressed, like I don't want to do this, and and that's when I got a call for an interview for a PA on a show at the Sony lot, and got that job, and I basically worked. That was 08, 09, and I basically worked at Sony since then, like on and off. So I was lucky I got that job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, like fast forward, you're on different shows for a while, but you land on the Goldbergs in the early like 2010, 2011. What did that show come on?
I think it started 2013.
Mm-hmm.
It
was a great show.
Yeah.
You
I loved working on it. I started on season 3 in 2015, I think.
And you became friendly with George Segal?
I did. Like that job when I was working at the UCLA kitchen and the job I got, then it's like fast forward, like I was good at that job, and then I went to another job. I've worked on like 20 different shows, and then the people that hired me on that first job hired me to be a post producer on the Goldbergs. So always, no matter who you're working for, like have a good relationship with them, because
For sure.
they'll definitely, it'll pay off in the future. So I landed a gig on the Goldbergs season 3, and that was a great decision. I mean, it was a great gig, and I say decision because I had 2 other offers on 2 other shows, which was a good problem to have.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the other offers was they were bringing back the X-Files. And growing up, like, I was like the biggest X-Files fan. Like, I watched every episode with my dad, and I'm still a big X-Files fan. I'm like, dude, I get to work on the X-Files. Like, so that's what I was going to work on.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got the call to work on the Goldbergs, and I had to, like, at that point, like, I was married. We were trying to have a kid at that point, and the X-Files was like an 8-month gig, and it was lower pay, and it was probably just going to be 1 season. I think it ended up being 2, but so lower pay, shorter gig. So I had to make a decision, like, do I work on the show I've always wanted to work on,
Right.
or work on the Goldbergs, which will probably be on a few more seasons.
Yeah.
And
I mean, just on the cast alone, you're probably like,
yeah.
Do you know all those details before you make a decision, or are you like you're like, oh well, this person's on, has been casted for the show and all that?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, I knew the Goldberg, like, it was already on for 2 seasons, so like
okay.
I knew it was a hit.
Oh, okay.
It was.
Oh, so it already had been on. This wasn't like their pilot year.
No, it was.
Okay.
It had been on 2 seasons, and like I knew it was going to be on for a while. So I was like, I can do the X-Files, which is like my dream, or I could do the Goldbergs, which is the safer choice, and I did the safer choice, which was the better choice, because I ended up, having a gig for 8 years, which is in TV and in Hollywood, like that's unheard of,
I have to tell you about this new body deodorant that I've been using in the last, I would say, about 6 months of my life. This is Cafix. This is a coffee oil natural body deodorant for both men and women. We should point out, coffee has been used to deodorize nasty situations for a long time, and and I was always using other deodorants, and this stuff, I heard most recently from the owner of Cafix had told us there are something called flavonoids or something in it that fights cancer.
Really?
Yes, I totally butchered that, but Carmine will do the best he can to edit that and make that look funny. Give this a shot. Bring it home to Kristen and the kids.
Yeah, because like the stuff in regular deodorant probably gives you cancer.
It does.
So,
It does. And they make
the
their own
aluminum
and
the,
their own soaps.
Okay.
All natural stuff. You can find them at Cafix, KAFX_body on TikTok, or you go to cafixbody.com and get yours. Yeah, it's
I did go to cafix.com, and I haven't used it yet, but I noticed that they have a under eye roller that I want to get.
Yes.
Because it's probably picking it up. Like I have like dark, because I don't sleep. I have like dark circles under my eyes.
They have like body butters and all types of things, and it's
I'm gonna get the deodorant,
the coffee oil,
and I'm gonna get the under eye roller.
This is the new way.
All right, cool.
How small is it, the community in which you're like getting hired and networking?
Yeah,
because I think that it's so important that we also stress on each one of these episodes the importance of networking, right? No network, no work,
Yeah.
And I got a couple kids from Capsize that are like coming out of school in the next year or two. I tell them, talk to everybody.
Yeah, it's not
You
what
know?
you know, it's who you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Alumni, like whoever. Talk to everybody that you possibly can,
Yeah.
because you never know.
Yeah, I bring up like cockiness. Like there are people that like come out of film school and they're like, I'm a great editor or I'm a great, director. I'm like, it doesn't matter if you're good at what you do.
Hmm.
It matters like if who you know and that people like you. Like you have to be well liked, like because you're in like a edit bay with someone for 8 hours at a time, or you're on set with someone for 12 hours at a time. You want to like be with someone that you enjoy being with, you know.
Hmm. Yeah,
So I mean, you definitely have to have talent, but
for
like
sure.
you, people hire people that they want to
Work with.
work with,
That's it.
So don't burn bridges ever, like
Hmm.
which when I turned down the X Files, I kind of burned a bridge because I had like already like kind of like softly accepted it,
Right.
and but I had to make the better choice, what's best for me and my family.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I started working on the Goldbergs, and that was a great gig. It was 22 episodes a year. Like I would get 2 months off in the summer.
Wow.
Um,
What a schedule.
yeah, it was great, and while there was other shows, other shows had like 8 episodes, like 10 episodes, like people would constantly have to find new work.
Hmm.
I didn't really have to look for work, so I kind of like fell off on the networking thing. So when Goldbergs ended, I was like, oh shit, I haven't been networking this
Hmm.
past 8 years. So
Right.
I kind of had retrain that muscle, that networking muscle.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, like you said, I met
Yeah,
the
to get back
cast.
to that.
Yeah, so I have a film premiering at it's New Jersey premiere. It's played.
Does that happen often? Like where you meet like, are you friendly with the cast? Or
I
is it
am.
like some people are just like, don't talk to me type shit? Or what is it?
Every cast is different.
Yeah.
The cast on Goldbergs they were mostly great. I don't have that much interaction with the cast because I'm rarely on set, but I do record them for ADR a lot. So I'm always sometimes in a sound booth with them for a few hours, so I get to know them there. And when I am on set, everyone was nice. But yeah, like this documentary kind of fell into my lap because for the people that don't know, George Segal, who was on the Goldbergs, he played the character of Pops. And growing up, I always knew George Segal from the movie Look Who's Talking.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely. Yeah.
It depends on what generation you're from is how you know George Segal.
Right.
Because he was like one of the biggest stars in like the 60s and 70s.
Hmm.
He nominated for Academy Awards, like worked with like Robert Redford, like every big director he worked with, and he was like one of the go-to movie stars of the 60s and 70s. And then he kind of like fell off in the 80s, like doing B movies on Cinemax and HBO,
Hmm.
those crappy movies you saw late night.
Yeah.
And
What
and
without giving away anything, like what happened to his career in the 80s?
well, I can give it away. It's you can see his life you can read it on Wikipedia.
Oh, yeah, of
But
course.
like,
Yeah, yeah,
but yeah, he had a drug problem. He talks about that in the
yeah.
film, and his career was kind of like dead. Like he was broke, basically bankrupt.
All from drugs.
Drugs and
Poor
divorce.
poor finance
Yeah,
decisions.
he had
Yeah.
divorce. Yeah, bad movies.
Hmm.
And then I think he was broke at the time, and he got cast in Just Shoot Me, which ran for like I think 6 or 7 seasons on
Yeah.
NBC.
Yeah, that was
So
a
it was
big.
pretty. Then he was like a television star, and like right after Just Shoot Me, he did a few more TV shows, and he landed on the Goldbergs. And so on set, he would just tell stories all the time about his time in Hollywood. And my friends Vern and Ryan, who Vern is the production manager and Ryan was the first assistant director on set, and they directed a few episodes. They were, they became good friends with George, and at this point, I think we've been working on the Goldbergs for like 5 years. So kind of like everyone is a little, bored at this point. Like they want to do something different. So Ryan and Vern were like itching to do something different. I was itching to do something different. And they hear George telling all these stories, and they were like, we got to get this on film. So basically, they took the camera that we shoot Goldbergs with and just started filming interviews with him, and then they started filming interviews with people that George has worked with over the years, directors, actors, and after a year or 18 months of doing that, they had all this footage, and they were like, what are we going to do with all this footage? So they came to me and were like, do you know an editor who can edit this together? And I, at that point, kind of like wasn't editing anymore. Like I was doing editing on the side. My job as a post-producer wasn't really that creative. I was kind of in the same funk they were, kind of like, it was just a day-to-day grind of just going to work and not doing anything creative. And I kind of like need to be doing something creative all times. I like need a project.
Sure.
So I was doing like, shooting shorts and shooting like comedy sketches, short films, like I think I shot a music video, stuff like that. And like, so like I was always like doing something on the side. And then I'm like, at that point I had 2 kids, and I was just like, I don't have time to like do anything on the side. I just have to work and take care of the kids. And Vern and Ryan came to me and like, do you know an editor? And then I was just like, I've always wanted to edit a feature-length documentary, and I was just like, yeah, I can edit it. And they were like, perfect. And
You're in.
And basically they had no budget, so I could do it for cheap. And that's how I got started on this. And as soon as they gave me all the footage, I was like, great, I'm gonna start. But it was like every film George has ever done. He did like 60 films. He was in like 5 different TV shows, and they gave me a hard drive that had every single interview, every single thing he's ever done. And they're like, okay, edit a movie. And I was like, holy shit! Like, that's when it like hit me, like, how am I gonna find time to do all this? Like, I have a full-time job, I have kids, I have family. I'm like, when am I gonna do this? And then literally 2 weeks later, the COVID shutdown happened. And like I had all the time in the world. I was like, okay, like no one's doing anything. And then basically that's all I did through COVID lockdown is edit this movie.
Wow.
And
funny how
yeah,
that works out.
And it kept my like, because if it wasn't for that, I kind of would have spiraled. I think like looking at social media and looking at the news. I it kept my mind.
You were still in the game
else.
by doing that, man.
Yeah. So, yeah. And then, unfortunately, like after a year, we had a film cut together, and then George passed away. So we kind of had to pivot into how we told the story. So, like, between that and we didn't have any money, and it just took a while to finish the film, and we just finished the film, like, back in November. And and we're excited for people to see it. We're excited to sell it. We need, like, mostly Vern and Ryan put a lot of money into it. I put a lot of time into it.
Right.
And if time equals money, if you believe in that, like, I've put a lot of money into it.
Right.
So we're just hoping to sell it and get our money back. it's not about like making money off it. It's
Yeah.
like just recouping.
Recouping
Yeah.
some of the expenses. What type of guy was he? Was he like, as you kind of talked to him later in his life, was he
Yeah.
anything like the grandfather he portrayed on the Goldbergs?
Um, yeah, he was a lovely man. Like every old guy, he could be, grumpy. I think there's a story like he took the job on the Goldbergs thinking it was like an easy multicam, like a Big Bang Theory type show where, those shows they shoot one day a week, maybe two. They do like a dress rehearsal. Those are the shows I started out in, multicam shows with the audience and everything. So you do like one day of rehearsals. You rehearse all week, and then one day of pre-shoots, and then the day of the show. So it's like a pretty easy schedule for an actor. And he signed on to the Goldbergs thinking it was
Like that.
like that, and it turned out to be like a 12-hour a day, 5 days a week type shoot. And so like after 8 hours, he was like 85 years old. Like he got he would get grumpy on set, but he he had the best laugh ever. So like when every week we had a table read where you read the script of that you're shooting the following week, and if a joke was funny and George laughed at it, like that's when you knew it got the ball rolling. Like everyone started laughing. Like so he had the best laugh, but he was a great guy. I didn't really get to know him that well, which I regret. I had a few conversations with him, but I felt like doing this film, like I got to know him better than like
For sure.
anyone I've ever met, just because like
You were just in his life.
Yeah. like at one point I'm like, I think I know George better than like I know my own parents, because
Right.
like they interviewed him 7 times, and he got like pretty personal about his life
Right.
and the way other people talk about him. So I got like pretty immersed in his life.
That's really cool. So
Yeah.
the COVID pandemic afford you an opportunity to really explore one of your lifelong dreams, because last night you told me that like now this is what you want, you feel like this is what you want to do, you want to make
Yeah.
documentaries until you die.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool.
Basically, like like I said, I always needed that creative. Like I have a creative hole in my heart that I always have to fill. That I think my wife has that too. So it's hard
Who
being.
was also on Long Shots, by the way, if you
Yes.
guys remember.
Yes,
The wonderful Kristen Maier.
yes, great writer, and she. But I always say, like, if you are a creative person and you want to pursue anything in the entertainment industry, don't marry someone that also has the same pursuit, because like it's not easy. Like I'm like, marry a lawyer or like someone that like has a very stable job. But so unfortunately we love each other and we got married. But it's good to have someone in the same business as you, so when you come home, like they understand like what you
Yeah.
went through that day. And
Yep.
it's not like you're coming home and someone's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like we are on the same plane, but we also struggle in our business to have stable work. So
Right.
but
But the whole dealing with rejection thing is easier at home.
yeah,
Yeah.
And wait, what was the question? Oh yeah, what I want to do the rest of my life.
Yeah. So documentaries.
Yeah, I was always trying to fill that creative hole. So like I said, I would do short films. I would direct. I would edit. I would music videos. But like none of them were like oh, this is what I want to do. Like this is just something to pass the time. But as soon as I started editing that documentary, I'm like this is what I want to do. Like that I want to, because it is a form of writing. Like documentary editing is like you're finding the story in the edit. You don't have a script, so you're kind of like writing the script as you go. So I kind of, even though it's like George's life, you still had to find a relevant story in there, and that was fun doing. And
You notice that by doing that, you could continue to do that, and you think you could find a story
yeah,
in anything that you really.
yeah,
Because
and
you've done it before. Now it's just a different setting.
Yeah.
Right? Different.
and I wanted to do like I said, I want to do documentary. I'm still gonna keep my day job. I'm an executive director at Sony at the moment. I work at Sony TV, and I work in TV post and visual effects. So that's my day job, and I love it. Like it's a great job, but it's corporate. You know, a lot of Zoom meetings and a lot of
Stuff you don't love.
yeah, a lot of talking to people, which in post you don't have to talk to people that much, but now I do, you know. So that's what pays the bills. So it affords me to do documentaries on the side. Every documentarian I talk to is like, that's usually not their only gig. They usually have to have another
For sure.
job to supplement their documentary passion, because there's not a lot of money in it.
Right.
So yeah, I got into documentary filmmaking, and I started my own company. It's called Porchlight Docs, because I was talking to somebody, and they're like, if you really want to produce and edit documentaries, like you should really start a production company. And I go, I don't really want to do that. It seems like a lot of work. And they're like, people will take you more seriously if you're a company instead of an individual.
Right.
Like, if you're like, I want this. If you're going up to someone and you're like, I want this documentary you're working on to be a porch-light picture, they'll be like, oh, sweet. Like, if they say, like, I want this to be a B.J. Maier film, they're like, okay, who are you?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
even though there's no difference.
For sure.
But
There's just,
they
a
just
little more validity in it.
yeah,
name,
they
right?
just take you a little bit more seriously.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to produce and edit documentaries, and I'm kind of focusing on documentaries that, like, there's so many documentaries out there that are like so depressing, like the true crime documentaries, and they're so successful. Like, I just want a documentary that's like fulfilling or uplifting.
For sure.
You know, like, and I think there's a lack of those, so I'm just trying to find those films.
Yeah. I mean, I think anybody that loves that genre often, I guess, gets sucked into viewing something that's bad, something that's horrible about this industry, or something that's like it's always exploiting or exposing something.
Yeah.
And the importance always is to bring something beautiful to light. I think that's like the most.
There's so much negative in the world that, like, you just gotta. I just want, like, and also I come from the comedy world. Like, I like sitcoms and stuff, and there's value in making people smile and laugh.
1000%.
That I just want, like, you watch Segal, and like you smile through the whole thing just because his stories are funny, and even when his life is depressing, like, he makes jokes about it, and his life was inspiring. Like, he followed his dream. Like me, he didn't like really have a backup plan. He moved out he started acting in New York, and he got married, and his wife was just like, when are you going to stop this acting thing? Like, we're broke. and he just kept acting. He was just like, I can't really do anything else. So
That's incredible.
I like those stories of people like, which is what this show is, like
Yeah.
people that like don't have a backup plan and just want to follow their dreams, and
Yeah. I think that's, I mean, obviously, as you know, that's the meat and potatoes of what we do here. And I absolutely love hearing about people that have just either just never give up, or they had to overcome something, or they're hustling on the side and pursuing like that. That is what life is all about, you know? Like
Yeah.
I want to, like, it's so easy just to kind of, I don't know, like just kind of skate by and just like do your thing. And if that's your thing, like if that's how you want to spend your time, right? Because time is the most valuable thing
Yeah.
on the planet. You know what I mean? Like it's, I say it all the time. It's like time over money, right? And like if you chase money, it's only going to be like a short-lived thing, you know. But if you value your time and put good, positive, energy towards something,
Yeah.
like the money will eventually come. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just don't know if people want to play the long game. You know, like the quick hit of money or dopamine or whatever it might be that people are interested in. It just never. It's not sustainable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's good that you bring up money, because like obviously I don't make any money off the documentaries I make, and I think like once money comes into it, like it loses its appeal to me.
Yeah.
That's just me. Like some people are like, I'm finally making money off this venture of mine, and but like I think once this hasn't happened yet, but if money starts coming into the documentary stuff, like I'm wondering, like, will I still enjoy it as much? You know, like
That's a good point.
because yeah, I think once you're getting paid for something, it becomes a job, and like you lose your passion.
Right.
But
That's why I
hope-
think though, but like the important part of doing what you find to be meaningful.
yeah,
You know, I mean, if you're making money, that's a plus. But if you're pursuing something that you find to be meaningful and that like you're bringing to people and be like, I really think that somebody else will enjoy it as much as I enjoy it.
yeah,
You know, it's like a chef, man. You know, like a really good chef just likes to fucking feed people.
yeah,
And likes to see the enjoyment that they get from it. You know, it's not about them like doing what they're doing. It's like they like to see what,
yeah,
what the meal does for somebody and the way that they're experiencing it at the table. It's a lot more than that. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And
I'm always comparing filmmaking to cooking, like, because that's the only thing I know
Right.
how to do.
Right.
But like when people like ask what it's like to like make a film, it's kind of like or what it's like to be a post producer or an editor or something. It's like people give you a bunch of ingredients and you have to make a film out of it. Like you have to make a dish. And I'm always just comparing, like, if people are like, what does a film producer do? Well, everything from when the show is shot to when it's finished, you oversee that whole process. And like a chef, like you're just giving ingredients, and until it goes to the table, like you kind of oversee that whole process. But yeah, and like little changes here and there will change the entire taste or change the entire film or how you view the film,
Right.
So I'm always comparing.
Yeah, and
Making that analogy.
that's a perfect analogy, and to bring it back, to the money part of it, it's like my brother asked me the other day. I told him I was interviewing you today, and I told him that we were going to the film festival last night, and he's like, "Are you making any money from this yet?" And I was like, Not yet, man. And I was like, but I could tell you, like, of course it's on my mind.
Right.
Um,
I think if you're doing it strictly to make money,
Yeah.
like that's when you lose your passion.
yes,
Like if you're
1,000%.
if you're pursuing just the money,
Yeah.
I think that's where I don't like when money comes in. Like the money's a plus and it's nice when you're getting paid for something, but if you're doing it strictly to get money, like that's when you lose the creativity in it.
I lose the creativity in it, and I lose the passion to really just talk to like different types of people, right? I would start to pigeonhole myself into certain people with a certain amount of following, and I just like I remember early on when we were doing this, and like I would follow, I'd be following people that are like really involved in social media and the marketing behind it, and I was like, I just don't want to do that, man. Like I just feel like if we continue doing what we're doing, like you said, I don't want to dilute the message that I'm, that I want, the story that I'm trying to tell, like talking to everyday people that are doing like extraordinary things that often gets overlooked.
Yeah.
Like I really think the miracle behind people pursuing what they get to do while they're here, because as life is so short,
Yeah.
and if you're doing what you love to do, like you're fucking winning at life.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whatever. Like if there's, I got a friend of mine who's a tin knocker, right? And he loves it, dude. He's like 4 years clean and his life is great.
Yeah.
And he loves it. Like that's great, man.
Yeah. If
like
it's so valuable to love what you do.
Yeah. And like we live in in a country where, that is still very possible, where you can, pursue something that you find to be meaningful, a way that you enjoy spending your time, because we have to do this, right? We have to work.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, and I think that's just like what life is all about, because again, like I've shared this before, but I was sitting there in a hospital bed thinking about like all the things that I hadn't done and all the things that I wanted to do, and that I just made a promise to myself that I was going to try them somehow, some way. I was going to just begin, and it started just by like going to talk to my buddy Carmine that you met last night.
Yeah.
And
awesome.
Slowly but surely, like we just kind of built some steam,
Yeah. I mean, my realization wasn't like as drastic as yours. I know your situation, but I remember being 25, that period of 2 years where I moved back east, and I remember it was one of those nights, those UL nights that like you work till 9 o'clock, and then everything you made that night you spend at the bar.
Yeah.
And we're there till like 3 a.m. and then we maybe go to an after party, and and then you're basically getting home when the sun's coming up, and then you sleep till like 2 or 3. And I remember just like, and then like going to the beach. I went to the beach that day, and I remember just sitting there like so hungover, being like, what am I doing? Like, am I just gonna do this for for the rest of my life? And that's when I'm like, oh, I gotta go back to California. Like, and I think that's when I started saving up, and was like, I gotta make it back there. And I think I went back there with like if I was the person now going back to California, like I would never do it, because like I drove cross country with I think $5,000, which is like nothing. That goes in like 2 seconds in LA. And I was like, there's no way I would do that now. Like, you're either like driven or like stupid. Like it's like a little bit of both.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
well, I think you have to be, right?
Yeah. And I think we talked about this last night. Is like in your in your 20s is when you have all the time, and like that's when you should be doing stuff. And I think like that's, if I do have regrets, that's my biggest regret, that I didn't like like start this whole documentary passion in my 20s, because like that's when I had the energy, the time, and now I'm like starting this new venture when I have a full-time job and 2 kids and a wife, and and in your 40s, just everything, just you're just tired all the time, you know.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
I mean, I can't do anything about it now, but you know, like that's my one big regret. It's like, why didn't I just do this in my 20s?
I
You
know, man. I know. I get it. You know, and I feel that the same way. I wish somebody had just like shook me. You know, because I just
Yeah.
had the wrong mindset about life. You know, again, chasing money. You know, was a driving factor. You know, the student loan, paying off the student loan.
Yeah.
It was just driving the boat, man.
The
And,
day I paid off my student loan was like one of the happiest days of my life. I think the thing is still on the fridge. Like, you've paid off your student loan. I was
Oh,
like,
hell
yes.
yeah. Wow. Yeah. I'm going, like, I am so, like, committed to eventually paying that off. It's not it's not in the near future, dude, but, like,
It'll be a good day.
it's going to be a great day. It's going to be a big event. I'm going to make it a very large event.
Yeah, and I hope that, you know, I don't want to get political, but I hope the government figures out that whole student loan thing, because kids are coming out of school now like with like the biggest mountain of debt.
It's crazy. I'll share a quick story for you. I had, you know, I was in class one day, and my professor came up to me after class and was like, "Darren, listen, I shouldn't even let you in this class today." She's like, "I got a notification, or I got a letter in my box today saying that that you haven't paid, and you're not allowed in this class. So you're gonna have to like go down to admissions right now and figure out your stuff." So if she was telling me that meant for the rest of the classes I was taking that semester, and I was like, man, what am I gonna do? Now at this point, I've been like applying for different like scholarships and things like that, you know, and it just, you know, I was crazy during that time of my life, but still like somehow getting decent grades and being able to put it together. So, but I go into the admissions office. And I go into the admissions office and I explain to them that, like, listen, I'm just waiting to hear back on a few scholarships, and they're like, they weren't trying to hear me. And I was like, so what do I do? They're like, either take this semester off or fill this out. And I just was like, okay. I just filled it out, and I'm just like, you know, like nobody. It's all on me. It's like $20,000 I'm taking out right in front of me. I'm like, $20,000, dude. This is insane.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it just and it turns out like I remember, like, you know,
It shouldn't have been that easy.
it shouldn't have been that easy. It shouldn't have been this woman just working in the admissions office being like, fill this out.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's it, you know? And that's what happened. And I remember some years later reading in the post that the Pace admissions office was getting kickbacks from Sally
really?
Mae for pushing out
For
pushing out the loans.
Yeah.
And it was apparently what they were doing was illegal.
It was like the housing crisis of '08. They were just giving, you know.
I don't know.
Mortgages.
Whatever it is, like I don't know, like almost, almost like predatory loans, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, but it was like it was wild. It was a wild time and I guess it's still happening. I don't know, but
yeah, it's like when you get the credit card in the mail and you're just like, you know, you've been pre-approved. Like you're
dude,
like, I actually did that when I moved back to New York. Like I just did one of those credit cards, like, because I didn't have any money when I moved to New York, and I went to like editing school for like 8 weeks, and I couldn't pay it. It was like $6,000 for editing school, so I just opened up a credit card, and that's how I paid for editing school. And I think I was paying off that credit card for like 4 years. You know, like,
yeah.
It's just like
At an interest rate of 90,000. Yeah.
The minimum payments. I'm like, I haven't used this credit card in in so long. Like,
Yeah.
how
Why
do
am
I?
I still?
Yeah.
Why am I still paying this off? Um. So we have a few minutes left. What?
Oh, that one quick.
Yeah. So we're talking about all this great stuff that you've done. Knowing what you know, looking back, will you still do it over again?
Um, I would do things differently, but like I always tell my wife this because I have to tell my wife this, but like uh, I love my life now. Like
Mm-hmm.
like I love everything about it. I love my kids. I love I love the house we're in. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm like sometimes like I have to be like I haven't like really like made it, like in the
Mm-hmm.
sense that like I still have to worry about bills, still have to worry about rent and you know all that stuff that I've always worried about.
Mm-hmm.
Kids are expensive, so constantly worrying about that stuff. But like, I love everything about my life right now. And when you think about regrets, you're like, oh, I wish I did that. Like every decision you made, or every decision I made, like put my life in a certain direction. That if I made any decision differently, I wouldn't have the life I have now. Because
Mm-hmm.
like you know, and I think about like getting the job on the Goldbergs. Like if I like, would I have kids right now if I took that other job and we couldn't afford kids? Like
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. Or what if I didn't move back to LA or stuff like that. So it's easy to say like, yeah, I would do this differently, but like, I probably would do it the same way, or I wouldn't have the life I have now. So,
Right.
you know,
But
it's
you
a
love the work like as much as you as you did when you were.
well, I love that I have a job right now
Mm-hmm.
because it's hard in Hollywood. We just talked about this. A lot of people are out of work. Um, we just uh, we just had the writers' strike, the
Mm-hmm.
actors' strike. Shooting in LA is super expensive, so everyone's shooting everything in Canada and Europe and wherever, and studios just aren't greenlighting things as much as they used to
Mm-hmm.
because they're risk adverse and they don't want to lose money and they don't have a lot of money. Now, I mean, they do have a lot of money, but not as much as they used to. So basically, I'm just lucky I have a job because I know a lot of people out of work,
Right.
and um, the fact that I can work in the entertainment industry and still pay my bills
It's a win.
is a win. It's a miracle in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so, as much as like my current job at Sony isn't like fulfilling that passion that I have, like I'm thankful I have a job and allows me to do stuff on the side and make documentaries on the side, which
Mm-hmm.
is a lot of work and it takes a lot of time and I don't have a lot of time, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm constantly exhausted.
So would you say that Segal is your number one accomplishment so far in your career?
um yeah, career, definitely. I would say my family is my number one accomplishment in
For sure.
life, but career is Siegel's the thing I'm most proud of. And I just want to keep making stuff like that because you were there last night. Like they were showing a string of trailers of the from the film festival, and I saw my trailer. Like I cut the trailer together on my computer, like in a small room. I'm like, I didn't think anyone's ever gonna watch this. I was just gonna email it to people, and they'd be like, "Oh, cool trailer,"
Mm-hmm.
you know. And then to see it up there on the big screen with like hundreds of people watching it, and then like the reaction they get is like so fulfilling.
Yeah, you guys were the
Yeah,
second one. I said like,
yeah. I was just like, oh, when I didn't even know they were gonna play the trailer. I was like, it's not that good, like you. I'm so bad when it comes to like like I think everything I make is horrible.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna have to go through and listen to this to timestamp it out so it gets clipped out. And
Yeah.
every time I am always like,
Oh, I'm probably not gonna watch this because I'm gonna be like, oh, I was.
we have to share it.
Yeah, I'll share it. I just won't watch it. I just,
I get it.
I'm a behind the camera type of guy.
Mhm.
I'm actually making.
You're doing great, man. This has been
Oh,
great
thanks.
conversation, dude.
Thank you. But I'm doing this other documentary that I'm very proud of. That I'm actually. It's a personal documentary about my family,
Mhm.
and I started it like 2.5 years ago. I interviewed every member of my family,
Oh, it's so cool.
and in it,
Immediate and like brothers and
it's just my brothers and my parents.
okay.
I'm the youngest of 4 boys,
Mhm.
and my parents got separated and got divorced when I was very young. So I kind of like never had that sense of family. Like my brothers went away to college. It was just me and my mom mostly, and like I feel like I never got to know my family. Like and we're close, but we're not like I don't think anyone knows the real everyone.
Right.
And so after doing Segal, I was like, I always wanted to make this documentary, but I never had the drive. And I called up Catalano. Catalano shot the documentary, and we basically went on a road trip for 2 weeks and hit my brother lives in Vermont, my other brother lives in Connecticut, and my other brother lives in Maryland, and my parents live in South Carolina and Florida. So we basically just took a road trip down the East Coast and
That's cool.
interviewed everybody for 2 days. And that's another thing I've been working on. But in it, I have to do voiceover, and it's my voiceover.
Mm-hmm.
And and every time I'm editing, I'm like, oh, I fucking hate my voice. Like like so I'm figuring out a way so it's not my voice. Like I think I'm getting another person to do the voiceover.
Yeah. That's funny. That's funny. Lastly, what can you say to anybody who's embarking or has any ideas about getting into the entertainment industry, being a filmmaker, writer? What kind of words of wisdom can you give them, and why do you feel that it's worth the long shot?
I would say be humble. Don't be cocky. I hate when I meet people like right out of college and they're just because I was one of those people. Mm-hmm. You have to be confident without being cocky. Like there's a difference between confidence and cockiness, mm-hmm. and just because it's not easy, and if you're overly confident, that'll come across to people and it'll be off-putting. Mm-hmm. And I remember this has nothing to do with the entertainment industry, but it has something to do with you. I remember this one lacrosse game that mm-hmm. We played club lacrosse together mm-hmm. in 8th grade. Mm-hmm. I think you were in 7th grade, I was in 8th grade. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you remember this game, but we were at a tournament, and that year we were undefeated. Like we were like, I don't think I've ever been on a better team. That 8th grade club team.
Yeah.
So we were undefeated, and we went to this tournament, and I think we won like 2 or 3 games in a row, and we had one more game to go in the tournament. So we decided like, let's switch positions. Like let's. So everyone switched positions. Do you remember this game?
Yeah. Was it against? Was it against Mountain Lakes?
I don't think it was against Mountain Lakes. I think it was in Mountain Lakes though.
Okay.
And we were playing a team that wasn't really that good. We're like, oh wait, yeah. And I remember, I was like, I'll be the goalie, I remember like Pat Kenny was like, he played defense, and like basically everyone had a different position because mm-hmm. we were, cocky.
Yeah.
And I remember the first like 5 minutes of the game, I think I got scored on like 7 times. Like we after the first half, we all went back to our positions, but it was too late by then. We lost. But like, I remember Mr. Kenny was yelling at us and be like, "Oh, you guys thought you were hot shit and wanted to play each other's positions." And I think about that game all the time when I'm like, "Don't be overconfident," because you will lose. And
The humility
yeah,
is what keeps everyone right-sized.
and I think uh, that's why I'm still in this business because, like I said, people just like working with me. I don't know why, but they do, and I keep getting jobs. And if I think if I was cocky and an asshole, they wouldn't want to.
Do you remember like a moment where in which you were humbled?
I think that 2 years.
That 2 years
That
when
where,
you were home working
yeah,
at the UL.
that's when I was like, it's not easy. Like you have to work hard at this. You have to, and when you're working in a kitchen making $180 a week, and you're going through when you're being a scab going through picket lines
Yeah.
to just to pay rent. I remember I think when I got that job, I had $3 in the bank account. And rent was due in like a week, and I was just like, I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do. Like, and I got that first PA job, but yeah, that humbled me when you can't find work and you're struggling to make money. That's when you're humbled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did tell me on the way in here that that sometimes you come across as a Debbie Downer of sorts to anybody who's looking for you to mentor them.
Oh yeah, I try to be real with people. I'm not like, because everyone says like it's who you know, just network. Like networking, in my opinion, sucks. Like it's like I'm networking a lot this weekend, and it's because I want to get my film sold. So I'm like I'm looking for financiers or distributors, and it just sucks. It's just it talking to someone when you need something from them, and like instead of just talking to someone just to learn about them,
Right.
that's not fun. And so a lot of networking, and yeah, I tell people like, are you in this for money, and do you like to go on vacations, and you know do you want to start a family at a young age? They're like, yeah. I'm like, then don't get into the entertainment industry because, very few people. It's a many people don't think about Hollywood as a working class thing. They're like a lot. You hear Hollywood elite a lot, like
Yeah.
but it's 95%.
Driven by
Yeah,
people who are just grinding it
it's
out.
yeah, it's 95% blue collar
Yeah.
workers union workers, stage hands, construction workers, set deck prop people, hair and makeup, the costumes. They're just all working class people, and it's a grind, but it's also like you get to make TV and films. Like that's why people do it.
Yeah.
Like that, if they were doing that grind, getting that pay and like not going on vacations because they can't, because they don't have the time, and they were doing something a little less fulfilling,
Right.
They wouldn't.
They probably wouldn't do
Yeah,
it.
they wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
So
it's really just the encouraging part of it is just like if you love the end product of the creative pursuit, right? If you're really in love with film and TV,
yeah, you
and
get
the
to,
entertainment world, then this is for you.
like you grew up watching films, you grew up watching TV, and you get to make it. Like that's the rewarding part, And sometimes
Something that somebody else is going to enjoy, and you had a hand in that.
Yeah,
That's the reward.
and sometimes you forget it. Like sometimes you forget what you're doing is important. It's on the grand scheme of things, it's not. Like it's more important to be a doctor or stuff like that. But I love like when I, visit my dad in South Carolina or my mom in Florida, and I meet one of their neighbors, and they're like, "I love the Goldbergs. It's my favorite show." It's like I watch that with my family. Like you're just like, oh, what I'm doing is,
That's cool.
means something to people, So that's when it's like, oh, it's fulfilling.